Hey all, it's Zahara Stars with Illum Astrology doing another transit podcast. In this one, I want to talk about Saturn transiting the seventh house of marriage and partnerships, close associations. As always, with Saturn, he's the great teacher, and he's not easy, but he's a very important planet in astrology when it comes to refining, perfecting, but also teaching us lessons that we very much need to learn. Now, Saturn is restrictions, boundaries, and blockages of mind, body, and soul. And he's also karma. And he's also refinement, perfection. He rules the 10th house of fame, legacy, and your place in the world, career, how the world sees you. But this transit affects people quite differently. Okay, so there's no one size fits it all for everyone. What you have to understand is the sign in which Saturn is in, along with any planets that he might be making aspects to during this transit, is going to affect the outcome. Also, your own individual chart and any aspects you have with Saturn. The difficult aspects with Saturn can sometimes be a little bit more trying because the lessons are learned about your Saturn issues. So if you have difficult aspects with Saturn and your Sun, your Moon, your Mercury, your Venus, or your Mars, this can bring about illuminations in that area. Now, the 7th house is about partnerships, close friendships, open enemies, marriage, but it's just about the outer world. It's about the other people, okay? Now, it's not like the other people's resources and stuff like the 8th house, but it has to do with other people, just relationships, partnerships, people that you do business with, people that you marry, people that you're in a commitment with, your very close friends, people that are close to you. It's the house that's ruled by Libra, which is Venus ruled, and those are partnerships, relationships, love. Saturn has a way of showing us our weakest links, and we look through a more pessimistic, refined view of the world. It's important to realize that Saturn rules over convention, okay? Doing the right thing, religion, seriousness, maturity. So when Saturn transits a house, we tend to look at things from a more mature perspective, a more conservative perspective, a more refined perspective. So, like Neptune puts on the rose-colored glasses, Saturn puts on the dulled down glasses, where the illusions and the fantastical things are stripped, and what's left is the reality of the people that you're involved with, or the people that you involve yourself with, or the relationship that you're currently in, or your close friendships, whatever, partnerships, relationships, all of that. So oftentimes when Saturn transits first hits the 7th house, there's like an awakening of you seeing things for what they really are. You seeing things from a much more mature perspective, a much more conventional perspective, a much more serious perspective. So if you're somebody that's been going out partying, hanging out with friends all the time, and you have superficial friends, Saturn's going to show you who these superficial people are, and you're going to see their faults. Saturn likes to enhance faults. And people that you used to tolerate suddenly become intolerable. You're like, ew, or, oh my goodness, I can't believe how foolish this person's acting. So what happens is that you kind of grow up in the relationship area, partnership area. And the things that you used to tolerate can sometimes become intolerable. You might seek out partners that are more mature, more balanced, more on your spiritual path. You might realize that the people that you're involved with right now really aren't really your friends, or they really aren't, or that basically the relationships will be tested, okay? Because Saturn tests the strength and tests the validity of everything he touches. So he shows us. So whether it's through your friends needing help, you needing help, and you finding out who's there for you, or whether or not you're going to be there for them, or whether or not you're going to draw a fine line as far as how much you're willing to do for people. Maybe you're somebody that's always been giving to people in the past, and you realize that, wow, these people are just taking from me and I'm getting nothing in return. I no longer want to do this. If you're married or you're in a relationship and it's been on the rocks or there's been issues, those will become enhanced, and you'll start to see things like whether or not you're willing to tolerate this, whether or not you want to work this out, whether or not this is something that you want for the long run, whether or not it's satisfying to you. If you're single, you may be dating around, having lots of different types of, partners or whatever. You're single and dating. You'll start to see the flaws in all of them as well. And you'll suddenly want something more serious, more committed. I've seen people get married with this transit. I've seen people get divorced with this transit. I've seen people go without a relationship during this transit. And I've seen people fall in love during this transit. And have a serious commitment during the time period that it's there. You could also meet a soulmate or a long-term partner, and this all depends on your own personal karma. See, the hard part about depicting how a transit is going to occur is that without seeing the person's individual chart, where we can see the karma of whether or not you've been somebody that's been promiscuous and playing around and playing the field, and suddenly you realize, oh no, I don't really, I really want something more serious, but then you're unable to find something more serious, or maybe you do find somebody more serious and you make that commitment. If you're somebody that's had difficulty getting into relationships out of fear, out of, not finding the right person or being very particular, Saturn here can bring about a partner that fits your bill, that suddenly is exactly what you wanted, or perhaps you have to break down your boundaries of not letting someone in, and you learn about how to have a relationship with Saturn there. Saturn can also bring a partner into your life that comes with a lot of burdens, responsibilities. Let's say you're single and you don't have any children. You meet a partner that has 3 children, and they're barely getting by on their work, but you really connect with them and it feels great, but there's a lot of responsibility and burdens that you have to take on. You have to help them with the kids, you have to take them, to the doctor, whatever type of things, burdens and responsibilities. Now, these burdens and responsibilities can come through friends, can come through family members, can come through close people that you know. They can suddenly go through difficult times where they're burdening you, and you have to set proper boundaries with people. Saturn tests, like I said, the house that he transits. He tests what's real and what's not. He also puts burdens and responsibility on us. He matures us. He grows us up. He lets us see things for what they really are from a lens that has to do with maturity and convention. If you've been into a certain type of crazy, wild person in the past, or people, you may find yourself more interested in a more reserved, conservative person. You may find yourself more interested in a religious person. You may find yourself more interested in a person in politics. You may find yourself more interested in a person in government, or something more serious, something that Saturn rules, which is government, which is law and order, which is justice, which is religion, all of these types of things. You'll have a more conservative approach in your relationships. Now, in some cases, some people can find it difficult to get into a relationship, and often this is because you are seeing things for what they really are, and not anybody's going to cut it anymore. You're going to become much more selective on the partners that you choose. You're going to be more interested in a commitment, but you may have difficulty finding the type of person that you want to commit to. And this all depends on your own personal chart, whether or not you attract the right people, whether or not you've been interested in all the right people for all the right reasons, or whether you've been interested in all the wrong people for the wrong reasons. Saturn is the teacher, so he's going to show you what's real and what's not, what's valid and what's not. He's going to test your relationships. So during this time period, there can be an alienation crisis. You can feel like you want to seclude yourself. But you're going to start developing relationships that are more in line with your own personal life goal. You're going to eventually clear out what's not working for you, letting go of those people that are no longer on your same spiritual path, and finding new groups of people that match you. People that are more serious, more mature, more trustworthy, reliable, consistent. But you're going to be a lot more pickier. You're going to see people's faults and flaws totally enhanced. And sometimes this can be a disappointing experience. And sometimes it's a very illuminating experience where you're like, wow, what was I thinking? Personally for me, I got into a serious long-term committed relationship with somebody who hadn't had very many relationships at all, was very mature, very serious, very Saturn-like. But we broke up when it went into my 8th house, and I ended up meeting somebody else, and I got married with Saturn in my 8th house to this new person. Because sometimes we find that we're influenced by the planetary energy, but once we're in it, Saturn's not exactly all that demonstrative and romantic, and some things that perhaps each individual needs. I have a Scorpio rising, so I need a certain amount of intensity, a certain amount of passion, loyalty, dedication, but definitely passion. And the Saturn relationship was lacking a lot of that. It was very mature and very serious, but boring. That's just my own personal experience. Now I have Taurus in my 7th house, and I've always attracted Tauruses, and I like Tauruses. That they work really well for me. They're consistent. They're pretty much what works with my Scorpio rising. However, having, we while we're influenced by the planet, okay, the energies, like Neptune's transits come, and we feel like everybody's beautiful. We're more compassionate, more sensitive, more willing to accept flaws and issues that we wouldn't normally. Saturn makes us more particular, more picky, more serious, more mature, looking for somebody that's, stable, that's successful, that's, a good person, that type of thing. But yet Saturn's not exactly, for those that need more passion, more intensity, more romance, So although we're influenced during the transit, we may be attracted to the Saturnian type people, Capricorn type people, or it really depends, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a Capricorn person. It could be any sign, and they have Saturn aspects to their sun or their Venus, or they have their Venus in Capricorn, or they have Saturn aspects in their chart that make them the more mature, conservative types. We can find ourselves more interested in those types, but it depends on what your natal chart is like, whether or not it's something that's going to last or be something that you're going to continue to be interested in. Like I was saying with Neptune, we're more understanding of flaws and issues, and we can become more interested in a spiritual person and somebody that's artistic or in the theater. But our own personal natal chart will depict the type of person that we actually are good for in the long run. So these planetary transits are just influencing us and showing us the different sides of the coin. So like, we get to see what a Saturn type relationship is like. We get to see what a Neptune relationship is like. We get to see what a Uranus relationship is like. We get to see what a Venusian relationship is like. And a Martian, where they're really aggressive or constantly going and trying and exploring new things, or Jupiterian, philosophical and traveling, so all these are just for our experiences and our growth. But our natal charts will really tell what type of person is ideally fit for us and whether or not a relationship will last in the long term or the long run. Now, you can definitely meet your soulmate if you're into Saturnian type of relationships, or if the consistency and the loyalty and the hard work and all that is what you're really looking for in a relationship, then it can definitely last. There's a lot of different things involved, okay? A lot of different aspects, transits occurring at the same time with everybody's chart. So there's multiple influences occurring. So speaking about just one transit, is very difficult, and it's not the same for everyone. Everyone will have a different experience. Some people feel like they can't find a relationship for the life of them. Some people get married. Some people find that they've let go of a lot of people. Some people had relationships with healthy people that were already doing well and true to them. And so they didn't have to get rid of a lot of relationships. It all depends, and it varies from each person to each person. But the bottom line is that when Saturn transits a house, he's going to refine that house. He's going to show you the weakest links. He's going to show you the faults in others. He's going to show you the true colors. And you're going to get a certain level of maturity as a result of his transit. You're going to see things through Saturn's lens of faults, of what's wrong with everything. So you can perfect your relationships and make them stronger and more enduring and real. No more superficiality with Saturn. Saturn is like, this person's like this, that person's like that, this, and you're going to start to see these things. So it can be disappointing, and you can let go of some friends, but it's for your benefit, and you're going to really appreciate it afterwards. You're not going to have any problem doing so. You're going to be like seeing things for what they really are and happy to eliminate them. But if you have to eliminate a lot of people and you end up alone, then trying to restructure your friendship group and stuff like that, you'll find that you'll be involved in different types of situations, or you'll go out with different groups of people, and you'll find that you'll be developing a new social circle that's more in line with your life purpose. So it will be different for everyone. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure to click the bell so you can get notification of my uploads as they come. And if you like to read all about astrology or to order your own personal reading or forecast, you can visit my site at www.illumastrology.com. Otherwise, I'm sending you guys positive energy for all the best. Until next time.